Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and today we are doing a repurchase review for the month of September. So if you are new here, what that is I go through everything that I featured on my channel that month and any updated thoughts, would I buy it again? And then at the end, we have a top 5. So we have quite a few things that I had on my channel this month because we've had so many holiday releases. So we're going to move through these things kind of quickly. We're going to start off with Lancome. So the Lancome and Louvre Richelieu Wing palette is this one here. And there are also lipsticks. I have to say, I love this palette. I think it is gorgeous. This green definitely gives it a pop, but I do have to say that these shades, they are fairly similar to each other. So let me go ahead and just swatch these here. And this is the middle of the eye shades versus the highlighter here. So you can see that those are fairly warm, fairly similar in tone as well. Now the green, what I love about this green is you can see it's a rich green. A lot of times when we swipe a rich green, we end up with a very deep black base. There is a little bit of a blackish gray base to it, but it is definitely not as strong as we've seen in some other eyeshadows. So I think overall this palette was a win. The lipsticks, you've got some classic lipsticks there, and they've got beautiful embossing, but for me, the palette was a win. So I would pick up the palette again. I'd pass on the lipsticks and just stick with this palette. I think it is just a really beautiful, beautiful work of art here. And you can see, we've got part of the statue here. And that's what we have here. So you can see like this is his hair and so forth. So, you are getting kind of a matching look on the interior embossing as well. Next, we have the new SUQQU foundation, and they have added some new shades. I'm very happy with the new shade 205 that I picked up, and they actually sent this to me. So I picked the shade, but they gifted the foundation to me. This is 205. I think it's a great match. This is a really nice foundation. So you can go, sheer it out to medium coverage, or you can go all the way up to full coverage there. It is really beautiful if you've tried their previous cream foundation. This one is slightly more matte than the previous version, but you still have kind of this luminosity to it. So it's a luminous matte. The foundation's definitely a win. And then I did receive the rest of my anniversary order now, but the ones that were gifted to me is what I have featured so far on my channel. So we have this palette in 102, which I think is a really nice palette. And, you kind of have some warm pinks. I love these shimmers. And, it's a really beautiful color story here. This one shade here is a cream. Really makes for a nice base. But you can see we have kind of these warm pinks. The blush in this palette, I really love the blush. It's a mix of the melting powder and pure color blushes from SUQQU. So I like that. I like it's a little different from before. And then we have this beautiful kind of, satin matte gold packaging. So I like that. I think that is definitely worth picking up. But the win for me is this face powder. And unfortunately, this shade has sold out so quickly every time I've seen it. This is 103, the purple. I did pick up the other two powders, so I will have those very soon. But I think it's a really nice powder. You can see that it's not overly purple. It's more of a pinky purple. So you have some brightening with this. And they actually recommended using this, like under the eyes for setting powder. I personally like it kind of all over. I think it's a great pressed powder. So that's my win from the anniversary collection. Moving on, I personally really like color mascaras. I know they're not for everybody, but a lot of times when we see blue mascara, it's like navy. Look at this new YSL Electric Blue Mascara. This is in the Lash Clash formula, which I think is such a great formula. It's volumizing, and it's I don't end up with like flaking or smudging with it. And you've got this beautiful bright electric blue. This is a win for me. Next, we have a couple of palettes from Tom Ford. So this one here is Dark Opulence, and then we also have Ambrosia. And this is going to be what they're now calling the Runway eyeshadow formula. It is a pressed matte formula, pressed powder. And we do have some shimmer shades. Personally, I don't love these. You know, I don't think that it is the best formula. You can build these up to get them a little bit more pigmented. Those are the two like shimmery shades in Dark Opulence. But let's look at this pink in the matte formula. You know, they're okay. I don't think they are worth the high price tag that the Tom Ford brand has for these. I would pass on both of these palettes personally. I just don't care for the formula. And yeah, the color stories themselves, they're not my favorite. So I would pass on those. I think there are better formulas out there. Even if you love that color story, I think that you can find similar colors from other brands, indie brands, and so forth that are going to give you better formulas than those in those Tom Ford palettes. Now, something I really, really love is this ESUM Nuance Lip Palette. I love mixing and matching the shades. In particular, I love this cooler section here at the end with the purples and mauves. And, you know, I love mixing and matching. So these are the two of the shades in that column. I also use kind of this pinky shade here and this kind of pinky mauve here as well. These are ones that I like to use a lot. And I think it's just such a nice, fun lip palette to use. So this was actually gifted to me, but this is an item I would definitely purchase myself. I think it is a phenomenal lip palette. And I don't typically love lip palettes, but I love the aspect of being able to mix and match these. And I love how you can mix and rearrange the pans in here. The packaging on this is great. And honestly, I love these like purpley shades. You know, I feel like that's missing. A lot of lip palettes are, you know, like think of the Westman Atelier lip palettes and so forth, where you've got all the reds or so forth, or you've got like kind of your classic shades. I feel like this one was done right because you've got lighter to deeper shades if you go down the rows. And if you go column-wise, we're going from warmer to cooler. So I think it's organized very nicely and the formula is great. So that is a definite win for me. Now I purchased the ESUM eyeshadow palettes and I have to say, I think these are really great palettes as well. So you've got one that's all mattes and you know, you can go by columns, you can go by rows, you know, very similarly to the eyeshadow palette. The other one are shimmers. I think these are silky formulas. The shimmers are very smooth. Overall, I'm very happy with the color stories and the formulas. So I purchased these. I would purchase these again. Next, Rose Ink lipsticks. I actually think these are really nice lipsticks. So this is a mini that came in the little lip set. This is one of my favorites. I absolutely love this color. I've actually been leaving it on my desk to wear this one frequently. This is called Alluring, and I've only seen this one available in the little lipstick set. And you know, that had been, I had purchased it from Sephora a while back. Then it disappeared for a while. They just recently brought it back for National Lipstick Day, and it is currently available on the Rose Ink website. And I think Sephora might have it at this moment as well. But this shade I absolutely love. You can see it's kind of a reddish berry. You've got a little bit of blue in there, but not too much. It's just a really beautiful shade. The formula on these is nice, and if you purchase the full size, they do offer refills. You know, it's refillable packaging. So overall, I think their lipsticks are really nice and underrated. So I would purchase those again. But my favorite lipstick purchase for this month, Hermes. And in particular, this shade here, Prune Noir. I mean, this has been a go-to shade for me. So this is it built up. But let me just go ahead and show you just one sheer swipe. You can see the difference. This is in their shiny formula, which is kind of like your lip balm lipstick formula. And this shade is just stunning. So it's a purple berry and definitely leaning more heavily on the purple, but it has enough red in there that it doesn't look too unusual. So I think it's a really beautiful shade, great formula. I love all three of the shades in this collection, but the Prune Noir is definitely my favorite. Next, I'm super happy that Addiction has finally come to the US. If you're not familiar with Addiction, this is a Japanese makeup company, and I had actually purchased these items from Toshiya at Fude Japan before they were here. So this one here is the blush in Skyflower. Let's go ahead and put this here. You can see it's a really beautiful pink. If you've been wanting to try SUQQU blushes, or you're really missing the melting powder blushes from them, I wouldn't say this is the same as that, but it is a pretty close, a pretty close version to that. This one here is Aurora Veil, which is, you can mix it with blushes. You can use it as a highlighter. You can see this is like a lavender purple shade with a blue reflect. I think it is gorgeous. Similar to the new Dior blush that kind of came and went out of stock. We'll look at that in a minute, but that formula is way better. And then they have some great eyeshadows. I've actually made a huge purchase and bought a whole bunch more of Addiction things. This is a shade Flashback, which is probably my favorite of the eyeshadows I picked up. You can see it's kind of a silvery taupe. And then this one here is Hour of Magic, which is a limited edition shade. And you can see this is going to be kind of a sheer shimmery purple. It has a little bit of a reflect. You can put that on a deep base to really make it pop as well. But Addiction, everything that I've purchased so far, I absolutely love. I've bought a whole bunch of new things, different formulas I haven't tried yet. So stay tuned. We will be looking at those soon as well. But if you're in the US, Addiction's now here. So check them out and let me know what you think. They are a fantastic brand. And I have to say, you've got top-notch formulas and the price point is very fair. So I'm very happy to see them here. Next, we have the Guerlain Powder Foundation. I think this is an okay product. It's a little bit drier than I would like. Honestly, overall, I would pass on this. I think it's okay. I think it's very similar to the Dior Powder Foundation, but it's not my favorite. And I think if you have like oily skin or combo skin, this might work out well for you. But if you have normal to dry, anywhere in that spectrum, this might be a little bit too dry for you, especially as we're heading into the colder months. It works best for me when I'm outside in the heat and the humidity. And I think it's okay, but it's not spectacular. So I'd pass on this. Gucci concealers. I picked up two of these, two different shades. I find shade matching with Gucci base products to be very challenging. So I have shade number 14N here. And let me just go ahead and swipe this one. We'll put that here. So here's 14N, which is a fair neutral shade. And then we also have this one here, which is 11C, also a fair shade. So this one is going to be a fair cool shade. You can see this is significantly whiter. Overall, the concealer I think it's a decent concealer. I don't see anything wow or amazing about it, but I think it's a nice product and I like it. I will use these, continue to use them. And, if you love pretty packaging on your vanity, I would say, this is worth the purchase. If you're just looking for an all-around great concealer, I'd say this is, average. It's definitely not a bad concealer, but there's nothing new and spectacular about it either. You can find, similar concealers, without the pretty packaging as well. So overall, I think it's a nice concealer, but yeah, I like the packaging, so I would purchase it again for that reason. But if I'm looking for the absolute best concealer ever, this has not cracked my top 5, which, by the way, includes, for brightening, the Valentino concealer, the Chanel Sublimage concealer. So overall, I think it's a very nice concealer. I would pick it up again, but I wouldn't say it's the best concealer I've ever used. Then we took a look at a couple new eye primers. We have the SUQQU eye primer and the Pat McGrath. I would say these are actually pretty similar. Performance-wise, they're similar. Texturally, they're similar. This feels a little bit more like a lotion. You can see, we kind of have this. Let's go ahead and we'll put it here. A lightweight like lotion here that you can kind of buff in. It's very moisturizing, very comfortable to use. The Pat McGrath is a little bit more, nude versus white. But again, we have a similar texture to it. I would say the Pat McGrath is ever so slightly thinner. They both seem to perform equally well in terms of, brightening your colors and longevity for the shades. So I think they are both fantastic. And, I'm still looking for the perfect eye primer, but I will definitely use these up. Next, we have Cle de Peau Holiday. And this palette, I think, is a really beautiful palette. Honestly, I'd pick it up again. I like the color story, but for me, what I love is this limited edition packaging here. And I love being able to move this palette out and put in my favorite. So that is actually what I plan on doing with this. I think this beautiful mermaid packaging here would go great with either the blue or the purple quad from Cle de Peau. So I'm going to move one of those into here instead, but I would definitely pick that up. I also picked up both of the highlighters and the lipsticks. And I have to say, I think the whole collection is gorgeous. This is my favorite lipstick from here. It is 524 Radiant in pink. And let's go ahead and put that here. You can see it's a really pretty kind of mid-tone neutral pink. And, again, we've got the gorgeous packaging. Unfortunately, these are not refillable for the lipsticks. The highlighters are gorgeous as well. And they seem to have fixed the photos, at least on the Cle de Peau website. So now it makes it a little easier to order because before they had them kind of reversed. And I would have to say my favorite of the two highlighters would be the Dawn of Destiny. So these are the two highlighters. We have Dawn of Destiny with the green and the peach and Radiant Aurora. This is actually a repromote of a previously produced shade called Pastel. It's number 11. It's not in the current lineup of permanent Cle de Peau highlighters, but it was in the previous formulation. So that's number 11, Radiant Aurora. This one here is Dawn of Destiny, which is number 106. And I like them both. I think they're both fantastic, pretty similar on the skin. But I do find Dawn of Destiny just to be a little bit more brightening. And so that would be my preference. Next, we have Rabanne makeup. And I had some hits and misses from this brand. Overall, I would say the eyeshadow palettes are nice. Let me just go ahead. I'm just going to swatch these two here. I think you've got a variety of different formulas and finishes. Their creams in the eyeshadow are actually super nice. I really like those. I also really like their color shot here. I think it is a great product. So I think they've got some nice products. The lip balm and lipsticks, those are nice. Nothing unusual there, but those are nice products. But I definitely had some fails. I didn't like the mascaras or the primers. I didn't like the foundation. So, I think it hit or miss depending on what you pick up. But I would say that the eyeshadows are definitely worth checking out. And, the lip products, if there's a color that really calls to you, it's worth looking at. And the color shots. Then we have the Hourglass palettes. So I picked up the Jellyfish, which is our light palette. I have to say I really like this one. I haven't purchased one of these in quite a while. And I'm happy with that color story. I think it suits my skin tone well. We've got some cooler and some warmer shades. And I picked up our deepest option in the Owl palette. And, this has a bunch of, new shades in it. 5 of the 6 shades here are new. So I really wanted to try that. I like this palette. I think overall it's a nice palette. If you like a warm nude eye look and you have light skin, these shades work really well for that. I think the blushes are, really nice in here. So overall, I'm happy with the Hourglass palettes. I think these are definitely something I would consider purchasing again. Moving on to Dior Holiday. I only picked up a selected things, but this here is the blush in Signature. I wanted to show you that with the Aurora Veil. You can see the Dior is harder to swatch. It also has a blue reflect to it. It's a little bit more of a pink base compared to the Addiction shade, which is more lavender. So the Dior is more pink. And then it has this really strong blue reflect. I think the formula on the Dior, though, is not good. So I would definitely go with the Addiction over the Dior. And yeah, those are my thoughts on that one. But the other items I picked up from Dior Holiday, I really like. So let me share those. So this is the Blooming Bouquet lipstick case, or Blooming Boudoir, sorry. Blooming Bouquet I think was last year. And I picked up this pink lipstick. I really liked it. I really like the cases. It is fabric, by the way. But I think the real winner in this collection is the Dior Backstage Silver Essentials palette. And I think we've got some really great, you know, kind of cool tones in here. I'm just going to swatch the center column so you can see those. We have kind of a neutral, champagne, a gray, and like this bluish lavender here. And I have to say the Backstage palettes have been doing better, in my opinion, than the Rouge Dior, you know, the classic Dior palettes since they've reformulated. So I'm very happy with that. I also picked up the candle, which I really like the candle. So I think they make great gifts. I'm very happy with my selections from the Dior Holiday collection. And I also really liked the Chantecaille Holiday collection. So this highlight in Precious Gold, this is a little bit lighter than I was thinking. I think it's actually a really nice gold highlight. If I were to pass on something from the collection though, it would be that, just because I don't wear gold highlights quite as much as some other shades. But the best thing here is this Radiant Glow Blur Powder. So it is going to have, you know, a bit of a satin sheen. This is the best working glow powder from Chantecaille that I have used. Their initial one that came out that was limited edition, I thought that was a great formula as well. And then when they brought that back and subsequent colors and so forth, they just felt a bit drier. They didn't perform as well. Last year's was really hard in the pan. This is a bit creamier in texture, so it's a little bit easier to use. You get this really beautiful, soft, blurred look. There is a tiny bit of shimmer in it, but I love it. So that is a real winner for me. The lipstick was a re-promote, so I already had that, but I do think it is a nice lipstick shade. And then the eyeshadow, didn't think I'd like it so much, but I love it. Let me show you that one. So the eyeshadow, I mean, it's definitely a pricey single here, but I think it's an absolutely gorgeous shade. I really like the way this one looks and performs. So I would definitely pick up the entire collection again, to be honest. There's also a lip gloss. The lip gloss, you know, you could definitely pass on that. It's pretty much clear with a little sparkle, but if you need something like that in your collection, this is a nice one. And, you know, I like the Chantecaille lip gloss formula. I think it's really great, and it has a lip brush versus a foam tip applicator. Next, we have the Lisa Eldridge liquid lipsticks. I thought these were really nice. So these were gifted to me, but I would pick up a couple of these. I do hope that they expand this range and bring some new shades into it, because these are classic shades. So if you already have her lipsticks in those, you know, you're kind of repeating yourself a little bit. But I thought this was a nice formula. So I would pick these up again. However, unfortunately, the eyeliners, which I'm trying to page through here, these, I don't love these. I think they are nice for a smudged out look. They're very similar to the Victoria Beckham, but I do think the Victoria Beckham are slightly better. They perform a little bit better on me than the Lisa Eldridge. These just kind of crease if you wear it all over, or, you know, they smudge a little bit more so. So I just don't think those are a great eyeliner. So I would pass on those eyeliners. And then the last thing, this was also gifted to me, but I've been using these a lot. This is the Jones Road new lip pencils. And this shade here is Mauve, which I've been using pretty much every day. So I do, you know, I feel like for the name, it should be a bit more mauve. This is really more of a dusty rose. You can see it's a bit warmer. I would like to see like more of a true mauve. But I love the formula. It performs really well. It's creamy, yet a little bit dry, so you don't have to worry about things budging and moving around. And these really work great if you want to wear them as all over lip color as well. So I'm loving the Jones Road lip pencils. And I'm going to actually check out the other shades and see how those go. Now, when I did that video, I also was taking a look at the new Chanel lip liners. And I'm just trying to grab one of those here. But these I think are, this is Rose Poudre. It's creamy. It's comfortable. They're nice, but they're not great. I think the previous version was better. These are okay though. But I just think that there are others that perform better. So between the two brands, I actually prefer the Jones Road over the Chanel. But you know, they're not bad. They're just not as great as they were before. So I would have to say they're not bad enough that I wouldn't purchase them. But I do miss the previous version because I felt like they were pretty much the perfect lip pencil. So that's it for the new things I featured. And let's go through my top 5. All right, so my top 5 is probably not going to be too much of a surprise. But we have the Prune Noir lipstick, which again is going to be over here. And I have to say, you know, the ESUM lip palette was a runner-up. Actually, it was number 6 on my list, so really close to being in the top 5. You can see that the color, you know, it's not the same, but you can get a similar color from that lip palette. Number 2, and these are not in any particular order, by the way, we have the Chantecaille Radiant Glow Blur Powder. I am absolutely loving using this all over. I think it gives just such a beautiful blurred skin effect with a little bit of luminosity. So loving that. Eyeshadow palette, I picked the Dior Backstage Silver Essentials. So that's number 3. Number 4, I went with Addiction. And if I had to narrow it down, these two are probably my 2 favorite things. We have the Flashback eyeshadow and the Sky Flower blush. So that's this pink blush and this eyeshadow here. Absolutely loving these. And then my last thing would be the SUQQU pressed powder. Now, I do want to mention that this has sold out quickly. I have been testing out their new loose powder, and this is a really great product too. So if you miss the pressed powder, you know, they're not the same, but this is a really great powder too. So let me just go ahead and swatch this one. This is actually going to be, you know, in the photos it looked purple, but it's actually more pink. And let's see, where did I put the SUQQU right up there. I don't know if you can still really see that, but it's a really great loose powder. Let me swatch the pressed one more time just so we can really see it. You can see the pressed is going to be a little bit more matte. It's also a little bit more purple. The loose powder obviously is going to be a little bit more white with some pink in there, but I think the formula and that's great too. So I'll have that coming up very soon. And yeah, that's my top 5 for the month. I'd love to know what you've been enjoying so far, what holiday releases you've been interested in. We have so many things still to go through. So stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I really appreciate your support. So have a great day, and I'll see you very soon.